Привет из Дубая! С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about cryptography and let's start with the definition.
There are two ways to hide something which you want to send to somebody in the world. First is calling, we name it like cryptography, and second one, stenography. Stenography, when you trying to hide the fact that you have sent to somebody something. But cryptography, you can send something openly, but another third person or third party couldn't open this information because it was encrypted. It's so-called archivation with password, which couldn't be open without knowing one or two passwords or keys. When we think about cryptography, first this was used like, I don't know, maybe 3,000 years ago. It was some special tube with some rings. On these rings were some marks like digits or letters. And if you would not try to crack it down, there inside is papyrus and also vinegar. And if this small bottle with vinegar would be broken, it will dissolve papyrus, so you couldn't read anything. So just in case you open this cryptex in right way, you will be able to read the context of it.
So when we speak about cryptography, obviously there might be like a different elements that are involved into the process. So can we have a look at a closer view at all of them to figure out like what exactly it consists of?
You know, cryptography is very old science or methods or even approach. And the easiest way is, for example, was to shift some letters. For example, we use our alphabet, but instead of Maxim, I will use not the letters M, A, K, S, I, M, but I would shift it for one letter right or left. More the sophisticated approach when I would use some another kind of shift. For example, I will use so-called P. Is it okay to say P, 314?
That's correct.
P. So first letter M I would shift for 3 letter, A for 1, and K for 4. And this P digit number would be shifting key. More sophisticated, for example, I would use like a stick, and I would put something right on the strip, and then I will put the strip around this stick, and then I would write down all digits which has no number or could be divided for 1, then for 2, then for 3, then for 4, and so on. So I would write in this way, but I would send in this way. When we have computers, we definitely have more sophisticated approaches, but all of them used shift approach or key approach or so-called password approach.
And when we're speaking about decrypting, obviously, depending on the approach, which we also probably will review later, I will ask about some complexity and stuff. So obviously, one of the things for the cryptography for some of the sites is how to decrypt it without knowing the key, whether they are in the one who should be reading the message or whether they're someone who is just actually interceptors and trying to hack and break inside of it. So what might be the approaches for decrypting the message and what kind of efforts or resources it may take in order to get the plain text message?
Strongness or level of complexity to break cryptography algorithm depends from several steps. First, how long could be password. Second, how many symbols could be put on one step. For example, let's talk about old-fashioned cryptography. It was a time when you could use, for example, I don't know, like 15 or 20 numbers or letters in password, but for example, Windows was using just 7 of them. All other were just thrown away. Second, sometimes you could use just letters which could be pressed by keyboard, and this almost the half of code table. But there are also exist another kind of symbols which are so-called non-printable. For example, symbol how to end line. or how to beep, or how to make tabulation, or something like this. When we will use zip archive, it could be recovered with speed from 17 to 30 millions per second. It's quite fast. If you'll use, for example, WinRAR archiver, we could be trying to brute force with a speed of 4,000 passwords per second. In this case, you could instantly broke WinZip in 30 days. It doesn't matter how long the password and how many digits on each space. You could use just several computers. If you use WinRAR, better not to waste your time to hope for your notebook or laptop. Better to go to someone who has distributed network and use so-called distributed password recovery systems. If, for example, we will use some another kind of cryptography, which is not intended to be used at home, but for example, for security agency, they use password with the length, for example, 1024 bits, and this password could not be recovered in appropriate time. And you know the reason why? Because cryptography is not about how to hide information forever, but cryptography should slow down your enemy, and when he will recover this information, it would be not applicable. So it would be too late to use it.
And obviously, there's also was a skill hacker's mindset. Some people also may ask, like, hey, is there any way to sneak away or like a sneak through the protection in order to get the, what they need? Because, some of the algorithms, they also might be having flaws, which allows them or which will allow someone to disguise as the right piece of code in order to pass through. So what are the breakability of the algorithm, and whether there are still researches in order to finding the way to bypass them?
It's very funny, but not the funny question. If we will use, for example, Windows protection or Microsoft Word protection or Excel protection, we should know that this algorithm and this program, they are certified by security agency of the country. And in different countries, the strongness of this cryptography algorithm would be different. For example, in America, it would be quite longer, and in, for example, some other countries, quite short. And the reason why? For example, if you will send to me Excel file via Gmail, it's probably would be broken almost instantly. So it would be done in a very fast way. Why? Because Google and some other huge techno giants, they use not the brute force dictionaries, but usual dictionaries. And a lot of people use password like 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, or they, for example, use transliteration. I will write down some saying or some song in English letters, but using Russian keys, or vice versa. And it's could be break in a very fast way. But there are also some backdoors could exist in algorithms. It is very it is not possible to find in government cryptography, but in at home cryptography, it could be found because of the lack of effort of programmists who was testing it. For example, if you will use the password for Microsoft Excel, you will write something very polite, like this is password protection to get your file securely. But I could find another password which would consist just from 8 different symbols. It will not match with your password, but it will also open the file.
This is quite interesting. And sometimes I do believe, at least like at the systems that I was working as barely, there is a possibility to set some sort of like a smoke screen. And I'm not sure like whether it's possible to do with the cryptography when, let's say, you show the intruder or someone who is just, like trying to open this up, that they get the piece of information, but in fact, it will have like a double button, and like to get through the like a first layer, they need to apply something else. So whether this principle or whether this mechanics are still available in cryptography, or it's might be like something else that would be like adjustment of the way the data is secured.
if you try to secure some information, there are several ways. First, to ask the specialist or expert which one algorithm would do this job better. But second way, it's quite often used by so-called lemmers. Lemmers, it is users which know computer not so well as it could be. They use, for example, several layer of protection. For example, they will use WinZip, then WinRAR, then they will use, for example, RSA or some other kind of algorithm. And they think that if they will use several layers, it would make to someone harder to break information. But you know what's funny? If you will use several layers, it would be much easier. First, it would be understandable that information is encrypted. Second, you will crack shell by shell, so it's do not make any difference to person which has access, for example, to supercomputers. All people who work for government, they have this access and they could crack this information very fast. By the way, if you will search in internet, just in usual Google line search, you will find that there are a lot of different servers which will break you through the password like zip, Excel, Adobe or some else, or PDF even, protected document format, in a very fast way. And you will pay from $5 to $30.
And this is also quite interesting, meaning that, you know, like there are always a way to go through the security wall that that was not set by you. And when it comes to, you know, like breaking big amounts of data or like a highly protected, whether this thing so-called AI, and I know that I'm putting like a bit of irony mark on this one, whether it's possible that it will be good enough to at least to assist with the speeding things up in terms of breaking, or vice versa, with providing the ways to encrypt the data. And again, as I said, I'm putting a bit of like an iron mark on this one.
Yes, great. You know, this question is quite useful to our viewers. You know, if we will try to use AA or we will use it like man brain, it's make no difference. And you know why? Because if you have a lot of information to encrypt, for example, you work for special company or you work for special agency, you will use a lot of different tools, and IE could be instead of also used. But you know, the main problem is, for example, you will send me some information. Let's assume it would be encrypted by WinZip, and you will use password 123. It's very easy to find. And for example, I would write down some cycle which will attempt brute force algorithm to apply password 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, and maybe I will find that this password is correct. But the main thing is not to apply password. The main thing to understand is the file is already broken or not. For example, I will write you in so-called Albanic language. I will mix some endings of the words. Maybe I will spoil some words. I would divide, for example, them by parts by space, and this would be not the usual text which could be read by somebody, but you will need to use some efforts. For example, instead of SEE, I will use C. Instead of for, I will use for. Instead of you, you, I will use just you. So I would broke the language, and then I will put in the file. By your eyes, you will definitely in a short moment understand what was written by me, but how to explain to my algorithm that it is so-called spoiled language. This is the main issue. So AI will not help you to подобрать,
Collect or pick.
to pick the right password. AI should be used to understand if this information is close to be opened or not.
Well, and then my last question will be how knowing about cryptography could help to make this world a better place.
I always saying to people that we attract too many attention to ourselves. So we think that we have some secrets, and this mystery could not be revealed by someone, and it is very important. Okay, we have number of our passport, we have our emails, we have some other information which could lead to several sites, even for our bank. But if I want to hack someone, I wouldn't use something very strong, very cryptographic, and I will use something like phishing. It's much easier. I will make you to open your computer for me, and then I will wait until you will be out of the keyboard, and then I will write what I want. So it is no need to break the informations which is stored somewhere. I just should wait. Let's assume that you have someone who is going with a closed bag, and on this bag there are a lot of huge locks, and you could understand that you could not open them, but maybe you could give this person a drink and then ask some pretty girl to ask something what is definitely inside this box or portfolio, and this man would open this secret box or strong box for you, and then you will enter this. So cryptography will never help, because anyone could put your finger into the door, I don't know how, door frame, and close the door. And if you have broken fingers, you will have such a pain that you will give all your password away.
Помните, что в любой защите есть одно слабое звено, имя ему человек. А мы рассмотрели навык криптографии и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!